Greetings and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for the massive support that we are receiving on this platform. I really want to appreciate you. I want to welcome our new subscribers, those who have subscribed after seeing the link from our TikTok page, those who have joined us from Facebook, those who have joined us from the WhatsApp channel. Thank you very, very, very much. We really appreciate and we are so excited to have you on board. For those people who always watching our videos, we want to thank you very much for your continued support, your continued contribution. I also want to thank all those who leave their comments, leave their thoughts in the comment section. I want to thank you so much. We really appreciate the feedback. For those who have just come across this video, my name is Nerissa. I am a mom and a wife. I've got 3 children. One of my children is on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed with autism, Tourette's syndrome, acute anxiety, ADHD, and learning difficulties. So in this video, I want to talk about one again of the frequently asked questions. And this question is, can a person be fluently speaking and be autistic? Or if I flip again that question, can a person who is non-verbal be not autistic? I think this question comes from the misconception that every person who is non-speaking, who does not use speech as a way of communicating, is autistic. That is where the misconception is coming from. There are a lot of non-verbal, non-speaking individuals in the world, and some of them are not autistic. Yes, some of them are autistic, but there are also people who are just non-verbal. They don't use words when they are communicating. So to begin with, I want us to talk about, or to define basically, what non-verbal, non-speaking is. And then we compare what autism is, and also see the circumstances under which these conditions can be defined, or the causes and how these conditions present themselves, so that we'll realize that these two are 2 different conditions which can exist in one person, both of them, and they can also exist in 2 different persons, each condition. So you can find a person who is autistic but verbal, and you can find a person who is autistic and non-verbal. You can also find a person who is non-verbal and not autistic, neurotypical. And you can find a person who is non-verbal and autistic. So we want to just go through these conditions and see how best we can be able to understand, and also even to support. I've met quite a lot of moms who, what triggers their interest in supporting their development, the development of their children, is the fact that the child has got a speech delay. That is what triggers them to say, okay, I need to support my child. There should be something that they are not meeting developmental wise. But if the child is verbal, most parents can end up missing the autistic traits because they think, he's communicating, he's talking, so I don't have to worry. So today we want to talk and differentiate, is autism the reason why people don't speak, or is not speaking the reason why people are autistic? Let's talk about that. So first of all, I want to define what non-verbal is. Non-verbal refers to an individual who cannot use their mouth words or spoken language to communicate their needs, their wants, their ideas, their feelings, and their thoughts. That is basically what non-verbal or non-speaking is. They are not using their mouth words, their spoken language, to express their thoughts, to express their ideas, to express how they are feeling, to express the things they are not happy about, the things they are happy about. And what is autism? So we have defined non-verbal. What is autism? Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects the way an individual communicates, the way an individual interacts socially, the way an individual behaves, and the way an individual processes information, what we call sensory processing. So autism affects those areas. It affects communication. That means you can have an autistic individual who has got speech delay and might end up being non-verbal. So they can sometimes they can have speech delay with adequate support and accommodations and provisions. They end up developing the speech. But some, they might never develop the speech. That then means they are autistic, but they are also non-verbal. But we do get individuals who are non-verbal and they are autistic. And we do get individuals who are non-verbal, but they are neurotypical. They are not on the autism spectrum. So we now understand what non-verbal means. It means a person cannot use words, but that does not mean they cannot communicate. In one of my videos that I did a couple of weeks ago, I discussed, it's entitled Autism and Communication. We wanted to really get into the details of why autistic individuals struggle to communicate using verbal language, not only using verbal language, even the other communication ways, communication forms. And in that video, I discussed so many ways that we can teach our children, our loved ones on the autism spectrum, to support them with communicating, because sometimes we end up narrowing our options only to verbal communication, forgetting that there's quite a lot of ways that these individuals can be supported, can be trained to use as a way of communications. Because at the end of the day, if they can express their needs, express their thoughts, express how they are feeling, it reduces frustration and it reduces the meltdowns that they could be presenting if they are not understood. Because meltdowns mostly is because of the frustration of not being understood. Imagine, I remember I spoke about just you imagining a world where your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas are trapped within you, and you can't let those around you understand what you are going through, what you are thinking, what you are feeling, and you don't have a way to let them know what is going on inside of you. So if we can understand and support our individuals, we will then create a reduced frustration individual. We'll support them and we'll accommodate them. We equip them with the various communication aids that make them be able to communicate, that help them, that support them to air their views, to share their ideas. So a well-researched that was done, a well-researched and clinical practice that was done, autism and being non-verbal, they are not the same thing. They are two different things. We have already defined what autism is. And being non-verbal, it is about how a person communicates, how they express their needs. Some autistic people can speak fluently. Others speak sometimes, called minimally verbal or intermittently verbal. Some autistic individuals. Some, they do not use spoken language at all, and those are the ones that are classified as non-verbal individuals. So now what we need to understand for us to be able to support these individuals is to understand that non-verbal autistic people can communicate in so many ways. They can communicate in so many ways. They can use writing or typing. So while we are supporting these individuals, we need to understand that the fact that they don't use spoken language does not mean we cannot communicate with them. They can use writing or typing. They can use AAC devices, which is a speech generating app. They can use sign language. They can use the picture-based communication, gestures, or body language. I remember when Chris, my son, had speech delay, the therapist introduced the picture-based language, where we were using quite a lot of pictures, social stories, to explain what is happening. And also, even him, if he developed interest in a certain thing, he would then refer to that kind of communication. And it really helped him. It also boosted his confidence, his trust in us, that he can express his views and he can be understood. And then that developed his confidence, and he became more and more less frustrated. We also witnessed a little bit less meltdowns, because now he knew that I'm being understood. People know what I want. They are supporting me in what I want, and I can also express myself and be understood. The other thing I wanted to mention was, we also need to remember, very, very importantly, non-verbal does not mean non-thinking. Being non-verbal is not a measure of intelligence. Just like verbal individuals, some non-verbal individuals are very intelligent, and some of them are averagely intelligent, and some of them are not intelligent. Just like individuals who use the verbal language to communicate. Remember, not speaking does not mean not understanding. It does not mean they don't understand. It just means they don't have the skill to express themselves. But that does not mean they are not thinking. That does not mean they are not understanding what is happening. They can be understanding everything that is happening, but they just don't know, or they don't have the skill to express themselves. Non-verbal adults exist, and some are doing very well, living lives independently. Some still need support if they've other additional needs that they need somebody to stay with them and then support them. There are autistic professionals who are non-speaking, partially speaking, or reliant on typed communication. So we need to know that also we already have adults out there. Autistic, non-verbal autistic adults exist. And there are also non-verbal adults who exist who are not autistic. This includes work in science, work in engineering, work in academia, data analysis, creative fields, and many more different industries. So let's have that understanding that when we meet somebody and they are non-verbal, it's not an automatic entry that they are autistic. Autism is the way the brain is wired. Non-speaking is not being able to use spoken language to communicate. But that person, when you meet a non-speaking individual, find out what form of communication they use. Was that all you need to be able to communicate with that individual? Find out. You can even find out from them. You can find out from their caregivers. You can find out from their family what they use to communicate. And you'll be able to communicate and have meaningful conversations with them. It does not mean when somebody doesn't have speech, they cannot think, they cannot understand. They can think and they can understand. It does not mean that they are not intelligent. No. They are as equally human beings just like you, a speaking individual. It's just one aspect of their life that they haven't acquired that skill that you have acquired. So let's support in these individuals and let's know the difference. Non-speaking does not mean the person is automatically autistic. And being autistic does not mean the person is non-verbal. You can have verbal autistic individuals and you can have non-verbal autistic individuals. And this is not even a measure of their intelligence. So these two can coexist in one individual, and they can also exist in two separate individuals. But they are not a prerequisite. For a person to be non-verbal, that does not mean they are autistic. For a person to be autistic, that does not mean they must not have a speech. I've met a lot of people. My son has developed a speech, and a lot of people think, so his autism is much. I don't know how people gauge autism, honestly. But what I know is you hear them, it's much better because he's talking. What about the sensory processing? Where does the talking help there in the sensory processing? What about the behavioral output? What about the triggers? Do the triggers get better when a person is talking? Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. What do you think about non-verbal individuals? What do you think about autistic individuals? Have you met those who are autistic but verbal? Have you met those who are non-verbal and not autistic? I would like to hear your experiences in the comment section. Looking forward to hearing your feedback. And thank you very much. Please remember to subscribe. Remember to turn on that notification button so that next time I upload a video, you'll get a notification and you'll not miss any of the videos that I'll be posting. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.